Hello YouTube, how's everyone doing? It's Professional here. So today I wanted to make another top 5, and this is a very different video than I normally make. This is a video that I've actually planned on doing for over a year, but I never got around to it, and I've always wanted to do it, and I decided to finally do it. And this is top 5 movies or TV shows that you would like if you like GTA. Now, every single one of these movies and TV shows that I have on this list, not only are they great movies and great TV shows, and if you like GTA, you will enjoy them, but each one of these has actually influenced GTA in some way. Each one of these has actually influenced these games in some way. Even if you haven't ever seen them, they have actually played a strong influence on the games. So now, let's get started with the video. Starting off at number 5, we have Boys in the Hood.
There's that motherfucker that was talking shit the other night.
Okay. When I say cut, we're gonna cut through these houses, okay?
Gotcha.
Punk ass.
Come on, get him, man, get him.
Come on, let's get him. Come on,
Go around the corner, cut him off. Come on, man, go.
Boys in the Hood is a 1991 film starring Cuba Gooding Jr. as Trey Styles, a young man who grows up in South Central Los Angeles in 1991. You know, the movie starts out in 1984, but then it goes on to 1991, and what I really like about this movie is its anti-gang message and anti-crime message. This movie has a central theme on just how gangs and their violence destroy neighborhoods. In the film, Trey's father, Furious Styles, played by Lawrence Fishburne, he tries to, keep his son away from the gang lifestyle. He tries to educate the community on why these gangs are bad, but most people, especially young people, they aren't really willing to listen to him. There is this theme on this never-ending cycle of revenge, and where does it end? Trey and his friend Ricky, they want to leave Los Angeles and they want to go to college, but end up getting sucked into this gang world. This movie inspired San Andreas, as San Andreas takes place in 1992 versus Boys in the Hood, which is in 1991. Both the game and the film take place in Los Angeles, or Los Santos, as it's called in San Andreas. They are both in similar neighborhoods, and much of San Andreas focuses on the gangs. There's even an extremely abusive cop that appears a few times in the movie, and his partner does nothing about his behavior and goes along with it. I believe that they inspired the creation of Officer Tenpenny, the main antagonist in San Andreas, and Officer Polanski. Tenpenny was inspired mostly by the corrupt scandal within Crash, the same organization he is a member of in GTA San Andreas, but I always think that this cop has had some inspiration on the creation of Tenpenny, since Rockstar did take inspiration from this film on San Andreas. At number 4, we have the Godfather films.
Buonasera. Buonasera. What have I ever done to make you treat me so disrespectfully? If you'd come to me in friendship, then the scum that ruined your daughter would be suffering this very day. And if by chance an honest man like yourself should make enemies, then he would become my enemies.
The first one was in 1972, and Part 2 was in 1974, and Part 3 was in 1990. The Godfather films follow the story of the Corleone family in New York. The film is actually based on the original Godfather novel as well. The story follows Don Corleone, the boss of the Corleone family, played by Marlon Brando, and his son Michael Corleone, played by Al Pacino. Al Pacino's role as Michael Corleone is considered one of the greatest acting performances in movies of all time. And as for Vito Corleone, he also has other sons, Fredo Corleone, Sonny Corleone, and his daughter, Connie Corleone. He also has an adoptive son, Tom Hagen. Don Corleone is an old-fashioned Don that is a man of honor. A man named Sollazzo comes to him to provide protection for his drug business. He wants Don Corleone to use his political and legal connections to protect his drug business, and he refuses on the basis that drugs will just cause problems and destroy his political connections. Eventually, this turns bloody, and I don't want to spoil much of the movie. If you've never seen The Godfather, it's one of the best mafia movies of all time. As for Part 2, it focuses with Michael, his son, in the mid-1950s, and involves a story with family betrayal. The first two movies, they were great, and the third one wasn't as good in my opinion, which that takes place in the 1970s. So how does The Godfather relate to GTA? The Leone family in GTA 3, San Andreas, and Liberty City stories are based directly on the Corleones. I would not say Salvatore is based on Vito, as they have different personalities. Vito is a very different person than Salvatore, but they do share similar age and appearance looks. We would not have the Leone family in GTA if it wasn't for the Godfather, and they are one of the most powerful crime organizations in GTA. Additionally, the Godfather has its own games. The Godfather 1, which is the best one. It's an open world game in New York City where you take over the protection rackets, you take over a lot of stores, you can destroy them, you can fight other families. The hand-to-hand combat is pretty good, and the shooting is as well. The game has a pretty good cover system for a PS2 game. There's a lot of different weapons, a lot of different things that you can do in this game. The Godfather 1 was one of the best games. And then you also have Godfather Part 2. That was also a video game, and that one, it takes place in Miami, New York City, and Havana, and you can destroy other family compounds, you can take over, other family-controlled stores and territories, but the second one focuses more on squad combat, where your AI teammates are kind of your gang. And, as for the movies, if you've never seen the movies, you really have to. But make sure you watch the movies first. If you plan on playing the game, watch the movies first and then play the games. It's much more enjoyable when you see the movies first. The movies, they are a masterpiece, and the games are also pretty awesome as well. Next at number 3, we have Heat, 1995.
Stay down. We want to hurt no one. We're here for the bank's money, not your money. Your money's insured by the federal government. You're not going to lose a dime. Think of your families. Don't risk your life. Don't try and be a hero.
Heat follows the story of Neil McCauley, who leads his crew on various robberies, and Detective Vincent Hanna, played by Al Pacino, tries to stop them. This is a heist movie, and it has had huge influence on GTA. Both Heat and GTA 5 take place in Los Angeles or Los Santos as in GTA. Both game and film revolve around a heist crew, especially with betrayal and constant arguing. Both Heat and GTA 5 have a massive bank robbery scene in downtown, and both Heat and GTA can have a huge shootout in downtown. The final heist in GTA 5 is the Union Depository, and the obvious approach can be a giant shootout in downtown, and the Pacific Standard heist, it was probably heavily inspired by this film as well. However, the largest inspiration for GTA 5 was the armored truck robbery scene. Just take a look at this. This is the scene from Heat here on one side, and on the other side is the scene from GTA 5. Both scenes are extremely similar. Both block the road, both use a tow truck to smash the armored car, both use explosives on the armored car. Michael says that his plan was inspired by a movie. Also, both groups of guards lose their hearing because of the explosion. And on top of that, in both heists, they are not even stealing cash, but bonds. Both heist crews in the game and in the movie also destroy the vehicle blocking the road, the ambulance in the movie, and the trash truck in the game. Heat is a great heist movie, and one of the best, if not the best, heist movies of all time. If we didn't have Heat, we might not have had the story we had in GTA 5. At number 2, we have The Sopranos.
You all right?
My leg's broken. The bone's coming through.
Let me see. I'll give you a fucking bone, you prick. Where's my fucking money?
So you had coffee.
Right.
The Sopranos is personally my favorite on this list. The Sopranos is a TV show that aired from 1999 to 2007. It had 6 seasons and 86 episodes. Some people refer to The Sopranos as the greatest American TV show of all time. The Sopranos follows the story of the DeMeo crime family, a fictional New Jersey mafia, with their boss, Tony Soprano, played by James Gandolfini. When I was a kid and becoming a teenager growing up, this is the show that was on. Tony Soprano is a very complicated character. At times we root for him, but other times we hate him. And he has shown that he is a massive hypocrite, but this was played perfectly by James Gandolfini. After I saw The Sopranos, I don't think anyone can play a mob boss better than James Gandolfini did Tony Soprano. We were meant to like Tony at times and hate him at times. The Sopranos is a very realistic take on how the modern mafia is and how it works. The creators of this show really did their research that real-life mafia families actually became paranoid that their members were ratting them out because of how realistic The Sopranos was on how the mob actually runs. While Tony is the main character, there are other characters and episodes that revolve around them. These include his nephew Christopher, his consigliere Silvio, his capos Polly and Vito, and there's much more characters. The Sopranos shows how complicated each character is. We like a lot of them, but at times also realize they're stone cold killers. So how does this Sopranos actually influence GTA? For starters, the character known as Tony Cipriani is entirely based on Tony Soprano. He is a character in GTA 3 and the main character in Liberty City Stories. Both characters are in the Mafia, both of their first names are Tony, but Tony in GTA is spelled with an I, and both characters, their mothers are very evil, and both of them try to have them assassinated. Both characters' mothers actually put out a hit on their own sons. We would not have had Tony Cipriani and Liberty City Stories if it wasn't for The Sopranos, but there's also other references. Many of GTA 4's mafia characters, such as the Pegorinos, share some influence from the Sopranos. And Alderney is based in New Jersey in GTA, the state where The Sopranos takes place. Additionally, the boss, Pegorino, owns a strip club, and in The Sopranos, the DeMio crime family also owns a strip club. There is even a yellow SUV that Tony buys for his son, and GTA 5 was inspired with this with a similar SUV that Jimmy buys. There's also a Sopranos video game, but it's not that good of a game, but it's not terrible either. If you have never watched The Sopranos, you should really give it a try. Oftentimes, I feel like I'm one of the few people that cared for this show. People today, they all know what The Walking Dead is, and they know what Game of Thrones is, but when I ask a lot of people what The Sopranos is, if they've seen it, they say they don't even know what that is. And it's a real shame because a lot of people have missed out on one of the best TV shows of all time. And number 1, we have Scarface, 1983.
Antonio Montana. And you? What you call yourself?
Where'd you learn to speak the English, Tony?
In a school. And my father, he was from the United States. Yeah, just like you know.
If you have never seen this movie, you may have heard of it as it is one of the most popular gangster films ever made. Al Pacino plays as Tony Montana, a Cuban immigrant who arrives in America in 1980 during the Mariel boat lift. This is when 125,000 Cubans were allowed to leave Cuba to come to the United States. Tony is denied a green card because he has gang tattoos, and he is taken to a refugee camp known as Freedom Town with his friend Manny. Frank Lopez, who is a big drug lord in Miami, offers Tony and his friend green cards if they kill Emilio Rebenga, who is a former Cuban army general responsible for Frank's brother's death. Manny and Tony succeed in killing him, and then they are given green cards, which Frank arranges. Tony gets a job working in a restaurant, but then meets Omar, who works for Frank, and he gets offered a job, but he wants something more. He wants more money, which then he is given the task of going to a major cocaine deal, where the deal goes horribly wrong. Without spoiling too much, Tony ends up working his way up to the top and becoming Miami's biggest drug lord. This is a story about a man who starts with nothing and works his way up building this giant criminal empire. And has this influenced GTA? It influences the most because the entire game of Vice City is based on this film. Vice City is in Miami, in the GTA universe, and it's set in the 80s, just like Scarface. Tommy Vercetti goes to Vice City. Right when he gets out of prison, he starts with nothing. Both Tommy and Tony go to major drug deals. Both deals go wrong. Tony gets away with the coke, Tommy does not. Tommy works his way up in Vice City and rises to the top, becoming the biggest boss in Vice City. The mansion that Diaz owns and later becomes Tommy's is very similar to Tony's. The structure, the carpeting, even the office. To top it off, there's even an Easter egg with a hotel and a bloody bathroom with a chainsaw, which is a direct reference to Scarface. We would not have the chainsaw in GTA probably if it was not for Scarface. The chainsaw was added in Vice City because of Scarface. Both Scarface and Vice City focus heavily on the drug trade. Both are about a man rising to the top with nothing and building massive criminal empires. The final mission of Vice City is even inspired by the final scene in Scarface. The Scarface film even has a video game. And like I said, not many games, based on films, not a lot of them are good. But this is one of the best games I ever played, and it's actually not only based on the film, but a sequel after the original movie, and the game offers mansion customization for a 2006 game, something GTA has never done. If it was not for Scarface, we would have never had Vice City, we would not have ever had Tommy Vercetti, or even Vic Vance, because Vic Vance is in Vice City stories, and Vice City. The whole game of Vice City was heavily inspired by Scarface. And that is that for this list. Is there any other movies or TV shows that I missed? What do you guys think should have been on this list? If you guys enjoyed the video, drop a like, and if you're new to my channel and enjoy my content, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care, everyone.